My apologies.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh, we're good. Okay, recording. Good afternoon. What's good, my fellow black man? How's everything going?
Doing great. Doing great. Blessed, man. I can't come. Well, I could complain, but it ain't gonna help. So everything is all right, brother.
No doubt. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and let's get right into it.
For
Now,
sure.
you have a lengthy career. Congrats to like your success and going forward. You you're probably mostly known for The Wire and Oz, and you've done
Right.
many things in between. Now you're on the fourth season of Starz BMF. So,
Right.
what is your role, and what can people anticipate when they watch the show? For
Oh
those who
well.
haven't,
This year on BMF, I play in J-Pusha, St. Louis hustler, down to the bone, gold fronts, southern accent, well, Midwestern, heavy Midwestern accent, let me put it that way. I'm enjoying playing him. He's a hustler through and through, always looking to make some money. I'm fortunate that the writer, Jasmine Darnell Brown, had me in mind and considered me for the role. I'm having a great time, and I think that when everybody, when it's all said and done, and they finish watching it this year, because people kind of not really recognizing me because of
yeah,
the the aesthetic.
I was
So
gonna
that's
say
kind of
that
fun
too.
too.
I was gonna say that too.
Yeah.
You know, we
But
recognize your. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So gonna go ahead and kill that this year, and I had a great time. Shout out to BMF Stars, Fifth, Heather. So yeah, we did it. We did it big this year.
Okay, so like when you did get the role, what thought process did you have? Because like as I stated, I don't think that you're typecast, but people are familiar with the type of characters you play. So of course, for those that haven't seen it or who was about to see it, they'll probably recognize that you know what you're doing when you're playing these type of roles. What goes into it? And I know you grew up in Newark. I'm from the Bronx, so we're like neighbors. So how do you feel that your upbringing in Newark prepared you for the type of characters that you've been known to play in recent years?
Well, yeah. Well, like you said, even when people think of typecasting, but it's a lot of thing where there is a range, a range of people everywhere, right? So you just got to find that nuance. So Brick City, there's genius thugs, like out here. So you never know what kind of person you're gonna get. It'll be like a straight fiend that can like build an atomic bomb or something like that. And it's so you never underestimate. You try to give people the proper respect, and it's always into the. I think it's usually goes into really getting to learn and study people. And I think me as an actor, that's what I'm supposed to do anyway. Supposed to get a little bit into psychology, and how people be and behavior, basically. I think that's what most good actors do, at a surface level, at least. But yeah, it was so much around here from Newark, Irvington, East Orange, Orange, so much, so much to absorb, especially if you're paying attention, which you better,
You have to.
you
Yeah,
know.
you have to.
Yeah, so if you're paying attention, you're going to see like the nuances in different people, whether it's men, women, kids. But yeah, I definitely draw. I draw from Essex County. I draw from New Jersey for all the characters that I do. So far, so far.
So, I mean, like I said, I grew up in the Bronx, and I've been in the industry for years. So I've come up with a few actors and producers, and I do know that sometimes people don't fit the personas that their roles are. Are people surprised that you aren't Bodie or you're not, this particular person based on your mannerisms because they might feel you're a certain way, but you're actually not the way that you portray?
Yeah, sometimes it depends, but like I said, there's these nuances. Like in some characters, people can say, "Oh, I can see how you think, and how that relates." Or I can see you being a smart ass here, and I see why you like that. Or I can see why you play this character so energetic. So it's like pieces of me there, but either it's not as extreme or it's more purposeful. I can be a very hyper person, but I usually reserve that for to get hyper for a reason, if I can. But sometimes you play a character that's just always amped up. So a lot of times do put a little bit of myself in the characters enough to make it believable, but then I just let the rest of the character take over the rest of it. And that's the thing I tell my students all the time, that usually you get cast against your type. The people that play the bad guys and the mean people, they usually the nicest people in the world, for real. And the people that play the sweetest people on TV is fucking jerks in real life. You know what I'm saying? So usually that's what happens. Like it goes that way. It's rare that you meet somebody that's kind of balanced.
But you gave me a perfect segue because you said your students. Because I was going to ask you about like your roles outside of acting. You mentioned students, so people may not know, but you're an acting coach, right?
Yeah. I graduated from Arts High.
Okay, because I know that.
Arts High.
When you do interact with your students, the people that are learning the craft, what type of advice do you give them in order to give them the edge to become successful in what they're trying to do?
Oh, so you're trying to get the free class? You gonna give me nah?
I'm trying to get them to encourage them to come to you to find out specifically.
Nah, it's cool. No, seriously, but no. What I do is first and foremost, I give a quick defining lesson of the different types of acting that there are. And the difference between those, what's the difference between stage acting, theater acting, commercial acting, television acting, movie acting, modeling, voice acting, so I make sure that my students first understand the differences and the differences in techniques. Then we go over like the history of the techniques, what the differences are, Meisner, Stanislavski, practical aesthetics, so we go over all those things. And then it gets to what the main thing is, to get to your question, is you have to I tell each student that they have to find their style. It can be like a martial art. Like your body might not be necessarily designed for, a particular discipline. So maybe you need to go from karate to taekwondo. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe so I try to teach my students to basically figure out what style works best for them, and then improve and branch out on that. Some people like to do method acting. Method acting don't work for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because it gets too personal, or it'll lock them into it where they can't act without actually having the actual thing in front of them. It has to be real. They're the type of people that's on set and they're like, no, slap me for real, really slap me. You like, bruh, I shouldn't have to slap you. So, but I teach first. I tell my students the first thing I do is I ask them to pick a style of acting that they feel like they are really interested in, or they're really already kind of good at, and then branch out from there.
I'm glad you said that because when you mentioned the different types of acting, I know that there, like, some people think that you have to be a certain actor to become this actor, and that, which of course isn't the case. But it seems as if like a lot of actors who acted on television and movies got their start doing theater. Now I know that's not traditional, but some people actually think that is. What are your thoughts on theater acting versus art in comparison to acting in TV and movies? And I know it comes the right realm, so I get it.
I grew up doing theater. I love doing theater. Number one, every time whenever I get a long enough break, I usually end up going to do a play. Because it keeps you busy, it keeps you sharp, it keeps you playing with other actors. Like it's like sparring or training all day. Like I said, I really do like to liken acting to, a martial art or a discipline, because you do have to practice, you do have to sharpen your skill, you do have to compete against other people. You need a teacher, a sensei, you need somebody to help you get better. You need practice dummies. So it's a lot of that goes on, and that goes into just improving as an artist, as an actor. So I think that's what it takes. You know, you have to. I love theater, like I said. I've done some great plays. I've done Broadway at the Roundabout Theater, and I've done First Stage down in Baltimore, and I've done the Boston Theater House. You know, so I've done some big venues and some great plays with some great directors. But yeah, theater is the truest, most purest form. You know, so if you can train, if that's your base, then almost everything else is pretty much easier than that. You know. So I would say theater is good, is great. Theater is great as a base because it helps you get rid of a lot of fear. You know, it helps you get rid of a lot of hesitation and doubt. Because if you got to do it one time, you only get one chance to do it on stage. You know, so either you do or you don't, and you got to keep moving on. And that's good. That's a good thing to apply to other types of acting you do, because a lot of times people get caught up in their head and they end up stopping or messing up somebody else's performance because you don't feel like yours was what you wanted it to be, you know? So there's a lot of that has to be sussed out. But theater definitely is, I think, like I said, it's the purest form, and it can prepare you, I think, for any other professional setting that has to deal with acting.
Now you mentioned, now I know that there are times when, specifically in anything with the arts, sometimes you have down periods. When you have your down periods, I know some people either get frustrated or depressed or they take the break. When you do have a downtime, what makes it better for you when you do have your downtime, regardless of whether it's from theater, acting, or just to relax? Like, how does it make you feel when you have your downtime? Do you get anxious? Do you wonder what your next role is? Like, what do you go through when that happens?
I've been doing it long enough that I still do have that bug where it's like, okay, this job is about to be over, and I got to start looking for the next job. But I also have enough, experience and enough time into this that I kind of got like an average, like maybe like every 3 to 4 months, I'm gonna book something. Something's gonna come, something's gonna happen. So I don't let myself get too, depressed or too nervous because I know, a job is gonna come. My agency is great. I'm always auditioning, so that's always encouraging. But yeah, a lot of times it does happen, like you said. I know a lot of actors, they do get, depressed, and it's always this anxiety. And then because another thing about this type of career, particularly depending on what you're really planning on doing with it, you have to kind of keep a momentum, and you kind of have to keep building on it. And sometimes that's what is usually the most discouraging thing to actors, is when you have that lull, and it's like, damn, now I'm either people gonna be thinking I'm falling off, or now I got to start all over again, or people gonna forget my last project. So now it's gonna be like, oh, because you got to keep building. You have to keep building on it. I think I've been fortunate enough to be doing it so long and in enough consistent projects that I'm pretty much in there. I still gotta audition. I still gotta go and look for jobs. I still gotta improve on myself. However, I don't have that anxiety as far as like, can I do it? Because I feel like I already did it. I just need to do it again.
Now I have you for a limited amount of time, and I have like 90 questions. But what I want to do is, I know you always get this question anytime you speak to anybody because it's just natural, but it has to do with The Wire. Now, my question to you, from working on The Wire, why do you think that so many people love The Wire so much? And I'm including me, like, I'll still watch The Wire today as if it's like on for the first time. But why do you think that The Wire had the type of appeal that it had when it was on?
Well, I think that number one, let's get the obvious out the way. Of course, it's great writing, great directing, great acting, right? But as time goes on, I'm starting to realize that it's an investment. Like, to watch The Wire, is an investment, an emotional investment, a time investment, a memory investment, because you get introduced to so many different layers and so many different characters. So that's what it is. People really feel like a part of the show because you have to care about it enough to even start to analyze it. You know, you got to deal with the police, who deal with the streets, who deal with the politicians, who deal back with the police. You got to remember who did what to who. I seen people that really watch the show and they both watch it, but they'll be correcting each other. Nah, that was so-and-so, man. He saw him over here. Oh, yeah. And then so-and-so. And these people know the show. They know it. But it's so layered and it can be so deep sometimes, but that's part of the fun of it. It's almost like being a comic book nerd. It's like, nah, I remember that. I know that. You don't know this, but I knew this, you know? So I think that's the major, that's like a component of it that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Just this, and because every year, some people say they watch it every year, you know? So there's so much investment, emotional time investment. People keep recommending it to other people. You know, you're putting your reputation on the line, telling people, no, it's the greatest, go watch it. You know, so there's so much investment in the show that's what I think really drives that's what drives the love for the show. You know, like I said, of course, the writing, acting, directing, you know, all of that is superb. That's what keeps people in, and that's what keeps them coming back. But I think the investment that people put into it is what they really, really value. You know, people value that time. They value the fact that they cared about this person, like they hated me this time, but then by the end, now you love me. Like that matters to people, you know, the arcs and all of that. So it was a lot of emotion. I think it's a lot of emotional investment in the show.
Yeah, people mostly involved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you have a long storied career, and I know people hate this type of question. Which role was your personal favorite, and why was it your personal favorite? Because for sometimes it's not as obvious as we might think. That's the reason why I posed that question in that way.
I mean, well, you know, you've heard this kind of answer before. Sometimes it's like your kids. You know, it's hard to like choose between your kids. But I'll say this: I usually say that when I was playing bricks on Oz, that was more so like my high school years, and when I was doing The Wire, that would have been like my college years. You know, so and then it's like other characters that I got to play, but I'm gonna have to give it to. Like I said, and even the character I had on Saints and Sinners, I had a bunch of fun with that character, Jabari. So I like characters that I get to spend a lot of time with. I like characters that grow or have a good arc. Yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to go with. I guess I'm gonna have to go with Bodie for now. You know. Only because, like, I had those years were so formative for me, you know, on screen and off screen. That, you know, yeah, I think that's a safe bet. That's a safe bet for now. Until I get into Marvel or DC or something like that and end up flying around or something.
Well, one thing I can definitely give you credit for because, like, I've like every character I've ever seen you play. I'm the type that I don't follow you as an actor per se, but your work speaks for itself. So even when I got the opportunity to speak to you now, I'm like, yeah, I want to talk to them because I like every character. Even if the character wasn't an idea character, you played it in such a way where it's like people can't become attached to it. So if people have told you that before, like how does that make you feel, and how do you encompass the character that you end up becoming?
Well, one of the things, and I think I learned this from like Asian cinema mostly, like watching it and seeing how you can be a bad guy, but you can have integrity. You know what I'm saying? You can be a bad guy, but you can have compassion. And so I really appreciate that my audience or the people that watch it, that they see those things in the characters that I play. You know, a lot of times dudes go in and they play the tough guy, and it's just the tough guy thing, and they don't know why there's no layers to it. But me, I always think about, all right, I know if I want you to hate me, I want you to be conflicted about hating me. I want you to be like, damn, I hate him, but I want to like him. You know, instead of just, oh, I hate him, because that's what makes characters forgettable. You know what I'm saying? Like you just So I'm always thinking about what really makes a character, and this sounds corny as hell, but what really makes a character human, you know? So, you know, because I'm already going to be doing something extraordinary at some point, right? I'm going to be shooting somebody at some point and get away with it, or jumping a fence or something, whatever. I'm going to drive high speed chase or something. I'm going to be doing something extraordinary. But what's the small realistic thing that people are going to be like, oh, that's a real person, you know? So, and I learned that from arts high. I learned that from my drama teachers, that there's always little spaces, little room to fill up, even when you're not saying something that makes the character more real. And that's the thing too. The audience, people watching you, they see and they're feeling more than just what they see. That's why you have to give them more than just what you are. You know, you always have to be present. You always have to be, you know, looking at the other person in a certain way that's saying something, you know, or, you know, moving around in a certain way that's saying something. But everything has to be for the story. Everything has to be for the audience, you know? So that's the main thing about me. I just try to make sure that, and I think I do a good job at it. But then, like I said, I think that goes back to the theater work, where you try to put layers. You try to put layers on a thing that people can see, you know? And in theater, in live action, you know, people feel that it's live, so it's more visceral to them, you know. But what happens on film, I mean, or whatever, on TV or movie, you know, that's through the screen, and the screen can be like right in your face like this. So even just a look like this, they'll pick that up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that on stage because nobody can see your eyes like that on stage. You have to turn your head, you know? So there's these different things that are always, you know, but for me as an actor, that I'm always thinking of how to fill in the space, how to connect to the audience, and like you said, how to make sure that without saying it, that people can see more dimensions in the character than the writer actually wrote for me, you know? So and yeah, so that was perfect. And I think Bodie was a perfect example of that, because I did not like the character at first, because I'm like, oh, he just gonna be just some rowdy dude. I think the cop's gonna probably shoot me up on top of a cop car at the end of this. Like, I'm like, damn, I just came from playing a bad guy, and now I'm a worse guy. But then as it went on, they started showing how he was growing up into a man. How he did have ambition, and you know, he had honor, and had responsibilities, and he knew how to do this and do that. And then it got to the thing where he's like, yo, I'm actually, you know, a good employee. I'm a soldier. I follow orders. I do this. And then he wasn't getting appreciated. So it was a whole arc that, you know, I really appreciated, and I got a lot of chances to do so much within that, growing up with him. And so yeah, that's just the main thing, man. You just gotta, the theater actor in me is always looking for those little nuances to always put out. And usually, like I said, I'm very grateful that usually a lot of times people pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm drawn to your characters not because of, not because of you, but because of how you play the character. So that's why I said
Right.
you do a great job, because, like you said, you can just play a character to be playing a character. But I'm gonna wind
Thank
it
you.
down. Like I said, I know you got things to do. Um, I'm curious, what movie role that you've never, like, what role period that you haven't played, that when you see it on screen, whether it's a movie or TV, that you felt you could have played a better job than the actor who did it. And no shade to whoever it is, but like I said, I don't want anybody feeling offended if it's somebody you actually know, or like, what movie role or what TV show where you looked at somebody like, you know what, I would have done that role, but I would have probably done it better.
Honestly, most of the time when I think about those things and I compare myself, most of the time, I'm usually comparing myself to people that I think are better actors than I am.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, because I like to study. I like to study a lot and improve a lot and push myself when it comes to acting. So, I would like to. I mean, like, it's a lot of Leonardo DiCaprio roles. I would have liked to try. I wouldn't have mind giving a shot to Gilbert Grape. I wouldn't mind giving a shot to Wolf of Wall Street. You know, Revenant. It's a lot of stories that he tells that I'm like, yeah, like that will push any actor. Like if you're trying to act, do that. Cause you can tell that, at some point he really hurt himself. No pain, no gain. So, something like that, or you know, uh maybe one of the old Tom Cruise classics, something like that, like maybe an old. But see,
Waterworld.
that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't want to take away those classic performances. I'm just saying that I would like to, I would like
Yeah,
to do those also. So, like, if it was something like a risky business, or any one of the Mission Impossibles, I would have had a ball doing that too. So, but that's Tom Cruise. But
I would say I'm not an actor. I want to play. I want to be in Mission Impossible as well. But is there anything that you're working on, or do you plan on working on that you'd like to discuss that you want people to look out for, whether it's now or in the media, whether it's now or in the future?
well,
That could be
hopefully, I mean,
discussed.
I can't. It's certain things I can't say too much
That's what,
about.
yeah, that's what that you could
Because
do.
yeah, we trying to get some rights, we trying to get some deals going on. But hopefully, I get to do a nice little run of a couple of historical figures soon. I would really like to do some biopics
Okay.
really soon. We had a reverend out here named Reverend Ron that was very famous out here in Newark. Did a lot for the city, and he had a great story, a life story. People said tell me all the time I look like him, and they want me to. So maybe we might be able to get that off the ground. I would like to do a Garrett A. Morgan movie if I could find the rights and his family to talk to them. I would love to do that. People been talking about me and Trey possibly trying to do a Mobb Deep movie or biopic. That would be good. Or
That would be
even
hot.
if these people just wanted to do like just a Prodigy one, I could hook that up for them too. Because I had a chance to break bread with P a couple of times. So yeah, but there's a couple things, but I wouldn't mind doing a couple of biopics for right now, and then like I said, eventually getting into either a superhero franchise or a family sitcom. That's what I would really like to. I would really like to settle into a family sitcom as like the goofy dad or something like that, like a live action Homer Simpson. I would love to do that.
That would be interesting. Um, I guess I've taken up enough of your time. I do appreciate getting a chance to talk to you, and good luck with any and every project you have going forward. And like I said, I'm a BMF watcher, so I'm definitely tuned in as well. And congrats
All
to
right.
you for, like you said, the aesthetics of who you are. So that way people don't see Bodie, they see. And look at the character's name already. JD. Wait, JD. Whatever the character's name in BMF. Like I said,
J-Pusha.
J-Pusha. I should have thought about your name and
It's
Pusha
all
T.
right.
J-Pusha.
Yeah, it's all right. It's early because like
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the time this is over, ain't nobody gonna never forget his name.
yeah, exactly. So,
Hmm.
but like I said, I appreciate you taking the time. And good luck with everything. And um, I'm in Jersey too, so maybe I'll see you somewhere. Just happen to be somewhere, and I'll say what's up.
Hey, brother, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Anytime I own a shop on 53 University Avenue called Fortress of Solitude. It's a comic book
Oh,
shop. So
okay.
anybody want to go through there, please come through and support. It's called Fortress of Solitude, 53 University Avenue. My homeboy also owns a restaurant, which we got together. It's called The Rouge. It's downtown Newark on Broad Street. La Rouge. Great food, great atmosphere. If you ever get a chance, go down there. Tell them I sent you. Tell them JD sent you and you interviewed me, and we have a good time. But want to thank you again, my man. Thank Big Said. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Hopefully I see you again soon with the next project. But just keep me in mind.
Yeah, I'm 20 minutes away from you, so you might see me one day, at one of those stores. So, you know,
For sure.
be safe out there until we speak again. Thanks, I appreciate that.
Same
Everybody,
to you, brother. Peace and
all right,
love. Peace.
Big Set Industry Code sign. We out. If I can find the end stream button. That's it. Okay.